Back to the Book Nook podcast, where we like to take these deep dives into books.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about Jeremy Clarkson.
All right.
Diddly Squat. Home to Roost.
Oh, the latest one.
The latest one in his chronicles.
Yes.
Of his sort of unconventional farming life.
Unconventional is putting it lightly. I think a lot of people will know him from cars and quiz shows, but he's decided to swap his steering wheel for a tractor a couple of years ago.
And he's got this TV show that's wildly popular, Clarkson's Farm.
Yes.
And then he's also been writing all these newspaper columns, which this book is based on.
Yes.
And we have a glowing review from Lady Book Dragon.
Wow.
Who gave it 5 out of 5 dragons.
Nice.
And she called it a lighthearted read.
Hey.
Perfect for escapism.
So we're in for a fun time then.
We're in for a fun time.
A few laughs along the way.
Yeah. And maybe some insights into modern farming.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay.
Let's get into it.
Let's dig in. Yeah. So one of the things that really struck me early on was all of his farming failures.
He has a lot of them.
He tries everything.
Yeah.
Like spring, barley, oilseed, rape.
Durum wheat,
oats.
Everything.
Everything goes wrong.
And it all goes wrong.
Hilariously wrong.
Hilariously wrong. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me like these setbacks really forced him to confront his own assumptions about what farming was going to be.
Right.
He thought he could come in with his swagger and charm.
Yeah.
And just, ace it. But nature had other plans.
Nature had other plans, and he says that the oats turned the color of a hearing aid.
The color of a hearing aid.
Which is just brilliant.
It's a great line, isn't it?
It's just a great line. But, you know, I think that it's clear that those failures weren't just fodder for his humor.
Right.
They really drove home this point.
Yeah.
That farming is as much about luck as it is about skill.
Yeah, I think he came to that realization, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think
quite quickly.
That's a big takeaway for anyone, farmer or not.
Yeah.
That sometimes the best laid plans can go awry.
Totally.
And you just kind of have to roll with the punches.
You got to adapt.
And adapt.
Yeah.
And speaking of adapting.
Okay.
He spends quite a bit of time talking about his battles with bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah, the paperwork.
Endless paperwork, frequent inspections.
Yeah.
Just this general feeling of being scrutinized by the farming police.
Yeah, the farming police. That's a great term, isn't it?
It's great. And he talks about them, making sure he's not feeding his pigs dead dogs.
Yeah, or
using fairy liquid on poultry.
Using fairy liquid on his poultry, yeah.
Which is so absurd.
It's so funny, but it does raise that question, like how much of this regulation is really necessary?
Right.
And how much of it is just red tape?
Is it helping anyone, or is it just kind of there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a complex issue.
Very complex.
Because on the one hand, you've got valid concerns.
Food safety.
About food safety.
Animal welfare.
Animal welfare.
Environmental protection.
But on the other hand...
It can feel really overwhelming.
Yeah.
People,
especially for smaller farms.
Smaller farms, yeah.
Who are just trying to get by.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to another theme that he talks about, which is the financial realities of farming.
Right.
And he talks about how the cost of things...
Everything.
And seeds, fertilizer, and sprays has gone from 40,000 pounds to 110,000 pounds.
Wow. That's a massive jump.
I know. And he attributes it to a number of global factors. Like what? Like the war in Ukraine, rising inflation, all these things. But the point is, even someone like Clarkson, with his resources, is feeling the pinch.
He's feeling it.
And I think that really highlights
the
pressures that farmers are under.
To make ends meet.
Yeah. Just to make ends meet. And, I have to give him credit.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from these
less
glamorous aspects of farming.
Yeah.
He could have easily just presented a really romanticized version.
Sure.
But he chooses to be honest about the challenges.
Yeah.
And I think that makes his story that much more
compelling. Yeah.
And I think
it's refreshing, isn't it?
It is.
I think that's what makes him so relatable, is that he's willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
He doesn't pretend to have all the answers. He's just figuring it out as he goes along, and he's honest about that.
And that reminds us that even someone like Jeremy Clarkson can struggle, and it's okay.
Yeah. We all struggle.
We all do.
It's part of life.
It's part of life,
Yeah.
If you're finding this deep dive as fascinating as we are, be sure to subscribe to the Book Nook podcast.
Yeah. Come and join us.
We have got plenty more to share, from Diddly Squat, Home to Roost.
Oh, yeah. We've only just scratched the surface.
So stay tuned, and while you're at it,
hit that button.
If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
It really helps other people discover the podcast, and it means the world to us.
It really does.
Okay.
So now let's move on to something that I think you're going to find particularly interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's about how his personality really shines through even in the face of all these challenges.
Yeah.
So
let's hear about it.
Okay.
Okay.
What's striking is that despite all the setbacks, he never loses his sense of humor.
Oh, yeah, he's always got a joke.
He turns his misfortunes into comedic gold, like when he tries to diversify into candle making.
Oh, yeah.
Using the scent of his knacker hammock.
I know. I mean,
it's classic Clarkson, isn't it?
You have to admire his entrepreneurial spirit, though.
Yeah, you do.
Like, he is always looking for new ways to make diddly squat profitable.
He's got to keep the lights on.
He does, even if they're a little out there.
Even if they're a little bit unusual.
A little unusual.
Yeah.
I think it's that refusal to give up,
Yeah.
That ability to laugh at himself. That makes him such an endearing figure.
Yeah, you can't help but root for him, can you?
You can't. And it's not just about cracking jokes.
Right.
It's about finding those creative solutions.
It is.
It's turning lemons into lemonade, or in this case, lemons into...
curiously scented candles.
Curiously scented candles.
Yeah.
And he's not alone in this endeavor.
No, he's not.
He's got a whole team of quirky characters supporting him.
Oh, tell me about them.
Like his girlfriend, Lisa.
Yeah.
Farm manager, Caleb.
Oh, Caleb. Cheerful Charlie.
Cheerful Charlie.
Gerald, the head of security.
Oh, Gerald, yes, and...
they're all brilliant.
They are. They're a motley crew.
They are.
With their own unique skills.
Yeah.
And personality.
But they work so well together.
They work so well together.
Like a well-oiled machine.
And I think they form
that community.
This tight-knit community.
That helps keep Diddly Squat functioning.
Yeah.
And probably more importantly, helps keep Clarkson sane.
It reminds me of that classic sitcom, The Good Life.
Oh, yeah.
With Tom and Barbara Good trying to be self-sufficient.
Absolutely. But Clarkson's version's on a much grander scale.
Much grander. And let's be honest, much more chaotic.
And a lot more chaotic. There's definitely that parallel, though, isn't there? That desire for a simpler life.
Yeah.
That connection to the land.
That connection to the land.
Yeah.
But as Clarkson discovers...
yeah.
It's not without its challenges.
No.
Especially when you're dealing with heavy machinery.
Right. Yeah. And a penchant for enthusiastic operation.
A penchant for enthusiastic operation you're talking about.
Oh, are we talking about the muck spreader incident?
The muck spreader incident.
It had to come up.
It had to come up. I mean...
you'll have to read the book.
You'll have to read the book to get the full picture. But
it involves a projectile pebble. A shattered window.
A very unfortunate sofa.
A very unfortunate sofa.
It's classic Clarkson.
It's classic Clarkson. He has this childlike enthusiasm for all of this equipment.
But sometimes it leads to collateral damage.
It does lead to some collateral damage.
Yeah.
But, that's part of his charm, isn't it?
It is,
This unbridled passion.
Yeah.
Willingness to embrace the absurdity of it all.
It's what makes him so entertaining.
It really is.
Yeah.
And speaking of absurdity...
okay.
He doesn't hold back when it comes to sharing his opinions.
No, he doesn't.
On the state of modern farming.
Right.
And the forces he believes are working against it.
He's got some strong opinions.
He has some strong opinions, and he is very critical of what he calls idiotic, left-leaning pressure groups.
Yeah.
And the government policies that he feels are favoring them over the needs of actual farmers.
About the people who are doing the work.
People doing the work. And he specifically mentions his concerns about veganism.
Okay.
The closure of abattoirs. And what he sees as impractical regulations.
Yeah. That are driving up costs.
Making it harder for farmers to actually do their job.
To do their job and stay afloat.
Exact.
And now it's important to note that...
these are complex issues.
These are complex issues.
Yeah.
There are valid arguments.
On all sides.
On all sides.
Yeah.
We're not here to endorse any particular viewpoint.
No, we're just here to...
but it's fascinating to hear...
his take.
His take.
Yeah.
And especially given his tendency to... shall we say, express himself forcefully.
He doesn't mince words.
He doesn't mince words, but, amidst all of the complaining, you also get this sense that...
that he really cares.
He really cares.
Like about the future of farming.
About the future of farming, yeah.
Yeah.
And this comes through in his call for adaptation.
Yeah, adaptation is key.
Especially now in the face of climate change. And he suggests exploring... alternative crops, like tea walnuts.
Willows, even vineyards, ostriches.
Camels?
Camels in the Cotswolds. I mean,
imagine
be a sight. It sounds outlandish, but it highlights a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Climate change is forcing farmers to rethink traditional practices and explore these new possibilities.
They have to adapt, or else they won't survive. And who knows, maybe some of these unconventional ideas could actually work.
Yeah.
It's all about experimentation.
Yeah.
Finding ways to make agriculture more sustainable in the long run.
Absolutely. And that's a message that resonates far beyond the realm of farming.
Yeah.
It's about adapting to a changing world, embracing innovation.
Yeah.
Finding ways to thrive amidst all the uncertainty.
Well said.
Thank you.
And speaking of adapting.
Okay.
There's a rather ironic twist in Clarkson's personal life.
Okay.
That kind of ties into this theme.
Oh, tell me about this.
Okay, so, he's had this recent health scare.
Oh, the poor guy.
And it seems like all of those hearty farm meals might have caught up with him.
Oh, no.
He had to have a stent fitted due to high cholesterol.
Oh.
And the irony is not lost on him.
Okay.
He even jokes about how he might have to adopt a healthier lifestyle despite railing against those who advocate for such choices.
Yes. The irony is delicious.
It is, and it's a stark reminder that even someone who champions a certain way of life
might have to change.
Might need to adjust their habits.
Their habits for the sake of their health.
For the sake of their health, and I think it circles back to that larger discussion of sustainability.
Yeah, in terms of our food choices and our personal well-being.
In terms of our food choices and our personal well-being.
Well, it's about finding that balance, isn't it?
It's about finding that balance between
what we enjoy. And what's good for us.
What's good for us in the long run.
Yeah, it's not always easy.
Not always easy, but it's something that we all need to grapple with.
Both individually and as a society.
Both individually and as a society.
Yeah.
This has been
a really
fascinating dive into Diddly Squat, home to roost.
We've laughed. We've learned. We've pondered the philosophical implications of camel farming in the Cotswolds.
We have.
I mean, what more could you ask for?
What more could you ask for?
From a book.
And through it all.
Yeah.
We've been entertained and enlightened.
By his wit.
By his wisdom.
It's sheer bloody-mindedness. He's a force of nature.
If you are enjoying this journey with us,
Don't forget to subscribe to the Book Nook podcast.
Hit that button
for more deep dives
into fascinating books.
And if you are loving what you are hearing, please do us a huge favor.
Leave a review.
And leave a review.
It really helps others discover the show.
It really does. And it means the world to us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we'll be back soon.
We'll be back soon to wrap up our exploration of Diddly Squat. Home to roost.
Yes.
In the meantime, keep those tractors running.
Those candles burning.
Those candles burning and those ostriches in line.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. See you next time.
See you next time.
So you know what I think is really interesting is it's about how his personality shines through even in the face of all of these challenges. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's still got that Clarkson charm.
He
does.
Yeah.
And what's striking is that despite all of these setbacks, he never loses his sense of humor.
Right.
He turns his misfortunes into comedic gold.
Yes, he does.
You know, like when he describes his attempt to diversify into candle making, using the scent of his knacker hammock.
That's right.
It's just classic Clarkson.
You've got to love him.
You can't help but admire his entrepreneurial spirit, though.
Right. He's always looking for a new angle.
Yeah, like he's always looking for new ways to make Diddly Squat profitable, even if they're a little bit
out there,
shall we say. A little bit unusual.
But you know he's not just about cracking jokes.
It's not just about the laughs.
It's about finding those
creative
solutions, and it's turning, lemons into lemonade, or in this case.
Lemons into curiously scented candles.
Yeah. And he's not alone.
He's got a whole team of quirky characters supporting him.
He does. It takes a village.
It does. So you've got Lisa, his girlfriend. You've got Caleb, the farm manager. You've got Cheerful Charlie. You've got Gerald, the head of security.
I mean,
come on. How can you not love these people?
I know. And they're all so
brilliant
in their own.
Yeah, they're a real motley crew.
They're a motley crew for sure.
Yeah, but I think what's so heartwarming about it is that
they work so well together.
They do. They work so well together. They've got this fantastic camaraderie. It's like a really well-oiled machine.
Yeah, and I think they formed this
A community.
This tight-knit community that helps keep Diddley Squat functioning.
And probably more importantly, it helps keep Clarkson sane.
Probably does. You know, it kind of reminds me of that classic sitcom, The Good Life.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tom and Barbara
just fishy
trying to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But it's Clarkson's version, but on a much grander scale.
Yeah, it's on a much grander scale.
It's darn.
And let's be honest, a lot more chaotic.
It's much more chaotic.
Yeah, but I think there is that parallel, isn't there?
There is that
desire.
That desire to connect with the land.
To connect with the land, a simpler life.
Yeah, simpler life.
But as Clarkson discovers, it's not without its challenges.
No.
Especially when you're dealing with heavy machinery.
Especially when you're dealing with heavy machinery and a penchant.
And a penchant for enthusiastic operation.
Enthusiastic operation, shall we say.
Oh, are we talking about the muck spreader incident?
We are talking about the muck spreader incident.
It had to come up, didn't it?
It did.
It's one of those stories that you can't not tell. You'll have to read the book to get the full picture.
You'll have to read the book for sure.
But let's just say it involves a projectile pebble, a shattered window, and a very unfortunate sofa.
It is classic Clarkson.
It's classic Clarkson. And I think what it shows is that, you know...
he's got this childlike...
enthusiasm for the equipment.
Enthusiasm for all of this farming equipment.
Yeah.
Even if it
sometimes leads to collateral damage.
Sometimes leads to collateral damage.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's part of his charm, isn't it?
It is. It's that unbridled passion, that willingness to embrace the absurdity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think that's what makes him so entertaining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of absurdity,
okay,
he doesn't hold back when it comes to sharing his opinions.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
On the state of modern farming.
Right.
And, you know, the forces that he believes are working against it.
Okay.
He's very critical of what he calls idiotic left-leaning pressure groups.
Yeah.
And the government policies that he feels are favoring them over the needs of actual farmers.
Yeah, over the needs of the people who are actually doing the work.
The people doing the work. And he specifically mentions his concerns about the rise of veganism.
Okay.
The closure of abattoirs.
Right.
And what he sees as these impractical regulations that are driving up costs and making it harder for farmers to stay afloat.
And making it harder for them to actually do their job.
To do their jobs. And, you know...
yeah.
It's important to note.
But these are complex issues.
But these are very complex issues.
Yeah, but valid arguments.
Valid arguments on all sides.
On all sides.
You know, we're not here to endorse any particular viewpoint.
No, we're just here to kind of explore these ideas and present.
But it is interesting
Clarkson's perspective.
To hear Clarkson's perspective.
Yeah, and especially because, you know, he's got a tendency to, let's just say, express himself quite forcefully.
He doesn't mince words.
He doesn't miss his words, no. But I think what's important is that amidst all of the complaining, you get the sense that he genuinely cares about the future of farming.
You do.
Yeah, and I think this really comes through in his call for adaptation, you know, particularly...
in the face of climate change.
In the face of climate change, yeah.
So he suggests exploring these alternative crops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things like tea walnuts, willows, vineyards, even ostriches and... Camels.
In the Cotswolds.
Now, that would be a sight to see.
That would be quite the sight.
It would. I mean, it sounds outlandish, doesn't it?
It does sound a little outlandish.
It does, but I think it really highlights this crucial point, which is that climate change is forcing farmers to rethink traditional practices and explore these new possibilities if they want to survive.
They have to adapt.
They have to adapt or else they'll go out of business.
Yeah, and, you know... who knows?
Right.
Maybe some of these unconventional ideas will actually work.
It could work.
It's all about experimentation.
It is.
And finding ways to make agriculture more sustainable in the long run. And that's a message that I think resonates far beyond the realm of farming.
It does.
You know, it's about adapting to a changing world, embracing innovation, finding ways to thrive amidst uncertainty.
Well said.
And, you know, speaking of adapting,
there's
this rather ironic twist in Clarkson's personal life that I think kind of ties into this theme.
Oh, tell me more.
So, you know, we've talked about all the challenges he's faced on the farm, the setbacks, the financial pressures, but it turns out he's also facing a challenge of a more personal nature.
Okay.
He's had a recent health scare.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it seems all those hearty farm meals might have caught up with him.
Oh, no.
The poor guy had to have a stent fitted. due to high cholesterol.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and the irony of it all is not lost on him.
Right.
He even jokes about how he might have to adopt a healthier lifestyle.
Despite
railing against those who advocate for such choices.
Right, those kale smoothie drinkers.
The kale smoothie drinkers, exactly. So it's a reminder that even someone who champions a certain way of life might need to make adjustments for the sake of their own health.
That's right, and I think it circles back to the larger discussion of sustainability.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of our food choices, but also in terms of our personal well-being.
Yeah, that's right.
It's about finding that balance between what we enjoy and what's good for us in the long run.
In the long run, and it's not.
And it's not always easy.
Not always easy, no.
But it's something that we all have to grapple with.
Both
individually and as a society. Yeah.
This has been a fascinating dive into Diddley Squat, Home to Roost.
It really has.
We've laughed. We've learned. We've even pondered the philosophical implications of camel farming in the Cotswolds.
Who knew that was a thing?
I know, right?
It's amazing what you can learn from a book, isn't it?
And through it all, I think we've been entertained and enlightened.
Absolutely.
By Clarkson's,
By his wit.
His wisdom.
And his sheer bloody-mindedness. I mean, you've got to admire his tenacity.
You really do.
Yeah.
And if you're enjoying this journey with us.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Booknerd podcast.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit that button.
And if you're really loving what you're hearing...
Yeah, if you're loving what you're hearing...
do us a huge favor and leave a review.
Leave us a review.
It helps other people discover the show.
It helps other people discover the show, and it really means the world to us.
It really does.
Okay, we will be back soon.
We'll be back soon.
To wrap up our exploration.
Of Diddley Squat. Home to Roost.
Of Diddley Squat. Home to Roost, but in the meantime...
keep those tractors running, those candles burning, and those ostriches in line.
Okay.
All right, see you next time.
Welcome back to the Booknook podcast. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Jeremy Clarkson's Diddley Squat, Home to Roost. And I gotta say, this book's really grown on me.
You know what I think makes it so compelling is that it offers us a glimpse into this world that I think most of us are so detached from. It reminds us where our food comes from and all the hard work and the dedication that goes into actually putting it on our tables.
And he doesn't sugarcoat it.
No.
He's honest about the challenges, the frustrations, the moments where it all seems like just this giant muddy mess.
He's very real about it.
Very real.
And I think that's what makes it so relatable. You know, he's not some superhuman farmer who effortlessly conquers every obstacle. He's just a guy.
Right.
Albeit a very famous one.
Right.
Trying to figure it all out.
Making mistakes along the way.
Finding the humor in all the chaos.
Yeah. And that's what really elevates this book.
It is.
You know, he's got this knack for finding the absurdity in these everyday situations.
Absolutely.
Whether it's dealing with a runaway flock of sheep or trying to navigate the world of farming regulations.
It's like he's the ultimate underdog, battling against the elements, the bureaucracy, and sometimes his own common sense.
You know, but even when he's doing that, you never doubt his passion for what he's doing.
His enthusiasm is infectious.
He might complain about the long hours and the unpredictable weather and
the financial pressure,
the constant threat of financial ruin, but
there's a glint in his eye.
There's a glint in his eye that suggests he wouldn't trade it for the world.
He loves it.
He loves it.
Yeah.
You know, like, remember when he decided to buy a Lamborghini tractor?
Oh, yes. The Lamborghini Truttore. I mean, like, come on.
Can you not love that?
I mean, it's the best tool for the job, apparently.
The best tool for the job.
But you can't help but think there's a bit of because I can in there as well.
A little bit of because I can.
Yeah.
And that's just pure Clarkson, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pure Clarkson.
Always pushing the boundaries.
Testing the limits. Whether it's cars or quiz shows or now farming.
And, you know, he's not afraid to share his opinions.
No, he's never been afraid to share his opinions.
Even if they're controversial.
Especially if they're controversial. Yeah.
He sparks debate. He challenges conventional thinking.
Yeah.
He forces us to confront our own assumptions about the world.
And I think in a way that's what makes him such an important voice. Even if you don't always agree with him.
Right.
He makes you think, he makes you question, he makes you laugh.
So to answer your question from earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, Diddley Squat, Home to Roost is definitely worth the read.
It's a great read.
It's funny. It's insightful.
It gives you a peek behind the curtain of a world that I think most of us know very little about.
And it leaves you with a newfound appreciation.
For the farmer.
For the farmers who work tirelessly to put food on our tables.
And maybe a little bit of inspiration to kind of embrace the chaos and find the humor in our own lives.
No matter how messy they get.
No matter how messy things get, absolutely.
And before we wrap up,
yes,
I just want to remind everyone, if you're enjoying the Book Nook podcast, please consider subscribing.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
Let us know what you think.
Let us know what you think. It really helps others discover the show, and it means the world to us.
It really does.
And if you'd like to get your hands on a copy of Diddley Squat, Home to Roost, you can find a link in the episode description.
Down below.
Thank you for listening to the Book Nook podcast. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and we'll see you next time for another literary adventure.
See you next time.